jungle grows quiet and the shadow stalks the earth, in search of its prey. The deer grazing quietly, not knowing that it will be a meal for one of the most majestic creatures alive. In a second, there's a flash of orange and black, and the deer is giving its life to the great circle of life, so that the hunter may live. Well, as such an iconic creature, most of you probably know already what has killed the deer. Yeah, that's right, it was killed by a tiger. Even though this is how most of us would like to see a tiger, the sad truth is that we probably never will. When you think of a tiger, you probably recall the last time you visited a zoo and saw a once magnificent creature that made the jungle go quiet, reduced to a tourist attraction. Unfortunately, as time goes by, this world may very well be all that's left for them. There are only 3,200 tigers left living wild in the world, compared to 5,000 tigers that are being held in captivity in the U.S. alone. Compare this to 100,000 tigers left in the wild just a single century ago. Seeing these facts, you may ask yourself why. Well, that is what I will present to you in this speech. Through hours of careful research on various websites, I discovered the 3 leading causes of the dwindling tiger population. Poaching, global warming resulting in climate change, and loss of habitat. Alright, so what would hunt the hunter? What could be the leading threat to this beautiful creature? That answer is probably easy for any of us to simply guess at. That's right. We are. Well, not you or I, or even Mr. Holt. I was thinking sometimes it probably could be. Anyway. Consumer demand for tiger parts poses the largest threat to tiger survival. Tigers are being hunted to extinction by poachers for their bones, skin, teeth, and claws, which are highly valued for their use in traditional Asian medicine. As seen in this particular slide, in Asian medicine, the brain of a tiger can be used to cure laziness and pimples. I mean, really? You're going to kill a tiger for its brain so that you're not lazy anymore? Get your butt out here and work, and you're not lazy no more, and the tiger doesn't have to die. There was also another slide that was a little bit more graphic than this, that I didn't put on here, that said the consumption of a tiger penis increases your sexual performance. Just, you know, they make a little blue pill for that. But, yeah, you know. The Wildlife Trade Network, tigers are being hunted to extinction by poachers. They're being trapped and killed. Their habitat shrinks, so poachers will place leg traps, snares close to the water. Tiger is walking along, and that thing closes on his leg. I saw one picture that they had a metal bar, and they're trying to pry this thing open. 2 big guys that work for the Park Service, they couldn't get it open. That's how much force is being closed on their paws. And so they're just stuck there until either they die from starvation or a hunter finally comes back to finish them. According to the World Wildlife Fund, in the past 10 years, over 1,000 tigers have been killed for to traffic their parts to meet consumer demand in Asia. Tiger bones have been used in traditional Asian medicine for several ailments. In 1993, the Chinese government banned the use of tiger parts for their Asian medicine. As is the case for anything that people want that the government bans, a black market will develop. On the traditional Asian market, parts from a single tiger can fetch as much as $50,000 a piece. As there is so much profit in killing a tiger, a lot of criminal organizations use it to fund their terrorist activities, drug dealing, and things of that nature. So So we'll move on from that because I'm pretty sure y'all get tired of looking at that too. The tiger's habitat is also being destroyed. We've seen what happens when the tigers come close enough to people. Well, why don't they hide deeper in the jungle? On record with the World Wildlife Fund, it was documented that only 7% of the historic tiger habitat still contains tigers. What causes the loss of habitat? Well, again, that would be people clearing land for farming and city development. Let's do a little mental exercise. Think about that number again for a moment, only 7%. That would be like squishing all of Vidalia, just 17.4 square miles into a minuscule 1.2 square mile area. Think of being squished into that 7% of Vidalia and having to live your life in such a confined area. Eventually, food supply would run out, mating opportunities would become non-existent, and we would all be trying to spread out. Remember, however, that if we try to spread out and we're caught outside protected areas, well, the poachers for Asian messenger would take us. As there's no room to safely spread out, many of us would die. As our population dwindled and fewer of us were consumed by poachers, poachers would begin coming into our little corner and thinning our numbers even more. This is what the tigers face with the loss of their habitat. So, what if we were forced to flee that little area because climate change made it impossible for us to stay? That's right, climate change. We hear a lot about global warming and how it affects us, but how does it affect the already dwindling tiger population? Well, Colby Lukes, the World Wildlife Fund U.S. Deputy Director of Conservation Science and the lead author of the study Sea Level Rise in Tigers, predicted impacts on Bangladesh's Sundarban mangroves, said tigers are a highly adaptable species, thriving from snowy forests of Russia to the tropical forests of Indonesia. Yet even with their adaptability, a major reason for more frequent straying by tigers from that little 7% is a growing prey crisis due to the greater frequency of cyclones, tidal surges, and tsunamis triggered by climate change. Though tigers are able to adapt, the prey items that they feed on, deer, they can't adapt so well. When thousands of herbivores die because of the lack of vegetation left by tsunamis and things, well, tigers go hungry. The sudden lack of food forces tigers to seek food elsewhere, usually livestock, which puts them in conflict with mankind. There is another effect of climate change, however, that tigers are unable to adapt to, and that is the rising sea levels as seen here. This particular image shows that in 1951, you had a lake that was fairly large in size. And in 2000, the lake had actually shrunk to something that looks like a mud puddle. So what happens to tigers when they want to go drink where they usually drink at? There's no water. Then when the sea levels rise, this is an image of a forest that was killed by the high salt content and rising sea level water being put into the freshwater streams because it has nowhere else to go. The salt kills everything because freshwater plants aren't generally able to survive to the extent that ocean-dwelling plants would be able to. And now that the tigers are unable to drink from the high salt water, again, they have nowhere else to drink, so they die of thirst. There's also this. January 10, 2003, there was a satellite image taken in Sumatra, Indonesia. You can see that in 2003, there was plenty of land for the tigers. Just a year later, after a tsunami, there's nothing. These are the threats faced by the tigers, and I'm glad now that you guys have been able to see them. Yeah, go ahead.